All right, so our next presenter, Mark Hooper, 3 fun facts. He wants everyone to know that he has a copy. His twin brother, Jonathan. He also made his own Hooperman outfit and wore it for a superhero's fancy dress party. And when he was 12, he sat next to the deposed King of Greece on a plane. When he said he was the King of Greece, I didn't believe him, and I yelled, "Yeah, and I'm the King of Siam." So with that, take it away, Mark.
I didn't know who he was. Okay, so thank you. I'm going to try and lighten the tone a little bit, and the topic I am still actually quite passionate about is, you know, we're all scientists, or a lot of us are scientists, and is it possible to be a scientist and be cool? And so the quote, that's the title is, if you don't know, it's the last line of Back to the Future. Is Dr. Emmett Brown, and he says that as the final comment. So, and I did have a clip, but we were a bit unsure about whether we were allowed to show it, so it got cut. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to first just go through a few ways that scientists are portrayed in the media, or mostly in films and TV. And there are different categories of scientists in the media. My first set is scientists as an evil force. And obviously, you know, there were joke characters, Dr. Evil, there's Frankenstein, as mentioned earlier. But I don't know how many people remember or have seen the film The Constant Gardener. The reason I put that in is because it's very relevant to a clinical trials conference, because it's a film about clinical trials, which you'd think would be a good thing, but if you get into the film, there are deaths, there's mayhem, people are shot, and generally, it's not really a clinical trial as I've seen. I hope. But, and you know, it's Hollywood, so that's fine. You know, it would be a pretty boring movie if all we did is talk about patient recruitment and consent forms. But if you look the film up on Wikipedia, on the top line in the first paragraph, and on the book, because it's based on a John le Carré book, both the pages have in the line, "This is based on a true story," which is pretty hard, as people are being shot by the by the British ambassador, as well as being shot by the people. So I'll talk more about that later. The second way we can talk about our scientists is madness. Top right, of course, is Dr. Emmett Brown from Back to the Future. And I couldn't do a talk without getting my inspiration when I was a kid would be the Muppets. And frankly, you'd think Beaker was a joke, but I've seen that happen in labs too many times. So we now bring a little bit more up to date, and of course we've got the Big Bang Theory. So one of the things with this, for me, is that, you know, we really are still seeing that science is relevant. People will do programs. This is one of the most watched modern TV programs. And it has changed as it's gone through. It started off as the scientists are geeky, there's a beautiful girl, she's the cool one, she shows them what to do. But as we've gone through the program, people are now meant to empathize. You know, one of the geeks has got the girl, or I think lost her now as well, but I can't keep up. But you do end up absolutely empathizing with Sheldon, with the characters, so you're meant to actually like it. And of course we have a very beautiful girl, until she speaks, and they still put them. So yes, it is a positive image, but it's still a very geeky image of scientists. And then we've got the cool and good-looking. Now, I couldn't do a talk without bringing in CSI. I think the two guys at the top are from CSI. And then down the bottom, I was told I had to put a picture of George Clooney in. He's a doctor, but he's wearing a lab coat, so he's almost a scientist. And hey, we'll just leave that up for a couple of minutes. Moving on. Oh, one thing I had to point out, though. Where are the safety glasses? None of them are wearing safety glasses. The guy's pipetting them. Sorry, that's me not being cool again. I can't help it. So now we come to the Brits' contribution. And frankly, if Prince Harry is a scientist, I haven't noticed, but he's wearing a lab coat. And who gets to have His Royal Highness on the back of a lab coat? That is so cool.
And he's wearing glasses.
And he's wearing safety glasses. Well, that was a real tour to a lab, so he had to do it. Health and safety. He's the future, could be the future king, but he still has to wear his lab specs. And then down the bottom, this is Doctor Who. Now, if you don't know Doctor Who is one of the most popular programs in the UK. In fact, and I've got a stat, we've got to have some stats. The Christmas edition of Doctor Who was watched by 10.2 million people in the UK. That's out of 63 million people. And it is the most popular program on Christmas Day. So, and he's a doctor. It's science fiction, and he's from a different planet, but he's still a scientist. I'm claiming him. So now we move out into the real world, and while I was doing the research for the talk, I quickly looked at some stats that we found online, and we're seeing that, and I'll go through the stats quickly because you can see them more on the links, but 55% of people in the UK think that science is pretty much useful. It benefits society. 91%, pretty much everybody thinks that we should have interest for young people in science, so it's important. 35% suggest that scientists still fix their results. We've got to change that one. And then we look at where they get their information from. So, you know, people looking for healthcare information, they look on WebMD, that's the highest point, but people still do look at Wikipedia. And we can't ignore Wikipedia. We have the ability to go and fix Wikipedia ourselves, and we can all be heroes of science. If we ignore it, people will get misinformation, people will think about the wrong thing. I actually got inspired and annoyed by looking at the commentary about the clinical trial that was involved in the Constant Gardener. So I went on myself, not through my work account, because you've got to be a bit careful of work, but through my personal account, and I changed the "this is based on a true story" to "this is very, very loosely based on a true story." And I went through to the clinical trial they talked about, and I changed the stats, because they were implying on the next page that the kids who died in the clinical trial in Kenya, and it wasn't Nigeria, were killed by the drug. And of course they weren't, they were killed by the meningitis outbreak, but there were still some people dead. So I'm not going to put a lie in there, but you've got to get a fair call for scientists. And here's one inspirational story. There's a lady called Ellen Kujman. She goes under a name of Alatariel, and she applied on behalf of LEGO to have the new figures for this year as scientists and women scientists. And she got it in there. So these figures are going to be available next year from LEGO. And this was one person putting an online petition to do a massive change, because in my view, small change, but it's a positive role model, it's women, it's for kids, it brings on. So we can change the perception. So are scientists cool? This is my best attempt at being cool. I play bass in a band. Or not. This is skiing in the hills, Marybelle. I was dancing on a table. And we did mention the Hooperman outfit, so this is my homemade Hooperman outfit. So, what can we do? We can all be heroes of science, and we can all be action figures, and we've got to go out there and do it, because it won't help itself, so let's go and do it. Thanks for your time.